Hey everyone, welcome to Fighting Over the Card Catalog, a snarky look back on young adult novels of the 80s and 90s. I'm Jess.
I'm Steven, and I'm here to make my wife happy.
We're taking a journey to find out how many terrible and hopefully some not so terrible books from my youth I can get my husband to read before he reconsiders this whole marriage. Hi.
Hey, babe.
Hey, babe. We're tired.
It's Monday.
Yeah, it's always Monday though.
It's always
Usually.
Monday.
It was our 20th episode.
Oh.
Yeah, can you believe we've been doing this for 20
Nice.
weeks?
High five.
And also summer begins this week. Did you know that?
Boo, summer.
Yay, summer. Cold makes me sad.
Texas summers make me sad.
Well, I mean, they affect me physically than a whole lot more than a whole lot of people, but I still prefer it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I don't.
Warm is good. Warm is a hug. Cold is awful. And
Cold
wants
allows you
to
to
kill
put
you.
on clothes to have a big hug.
Not on your face or your fingers if you want to be able to do anything.
We actually had our AC go out last week,
We did.
which
And it was fine.
it was actually a very good day for it because it had been overcast all day, and it ended up getting up. I think the highest it got up to was like 80. And we put fans in the windows.
I hadn't even
overnight.
noticed when you got home.
Yeah, as soon as I walked in the door, I'm like, oh, something's wrong.
And I was like, what? So see, I prefer it. But yeah, you put 6 fans leading from the window
Yeah.
into our bedroom. But it was fine. I got cold.
Yeah, it got down to like 74 in the middle of the night, so that was nice. And then my son, who does AC stuff, came in the next day and helped
Yeah,
get
we
it
got
repaired.
fucking lucky with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just so happened he was off the next
Yeah.
day, so.
I've never heard of anybody getting their AC fixed so quickly, especially in Texas in
Yeah.
June. Yeah, because usually that takes at least days. But yeah, thank you, Aaron. You'll never hear this. Thank you, Aaron.
Would you rather be without heat in the middle of winter or without air in the middle of summer? And when I say middle of summer, I'm talking about like a string of
August.
100-degree days.
Yeah. I mean, probably still, I'd rather have heat because being hot doesn't hurt me. But being cold, I'm tensed up.
Yeah.
And my muscles hurt. And that's really bad with the MS. And so, yeah, I hurt all the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And if I'm outside, then that hurts even more because wind is the devil when it's cold. But wind when it's summer is wonderful. Even if it's humid and hot air, it's wonderful.
Yeah, the hottest I've ever been in was like 112 degrees when I was in Scottsdale, Arizona. And the week before, it had gotten to 132.
Yeah, that's fucking hot, but it's a dry heat,
Yeah,
right?
it was a dry heat. Yeah, I mean, I know what they mean by that, but
Yeah.
it's still 112 degrees.
Yeah. No, that's fucking hot.
Yeah. So they had to close down the airport because there was equipment that was only rated to 130 degrees.
So anyways, Arizona is a great place to get a sunburn. So yeah, I picked this week's book, Sunburn, the 19th book in the Fear Street series by R.L. Stine, published in 1993, as it is the first week officially of summer.
Sunburn. You could get burned. The perfect suntan, soaking up the rays. Fun on the beach. That's what Claudia Walker had in mind when she accepted her friend Marla's invitation to spend the weekend at her cliffside beach house. Little did she know that horrible accidents, fatal accidents, would occur on the beach and in the house. But Claudia knows they're not accidents. She's sure somebody is out to get them, out to kill them. The week of fun in the sun has turned dark and deadly.
To be fair, it wasn't really Claudia who was so sure that they were in immense danger. That was more Joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think Claudia really even thought about it before then. But.
Yeah, and I mean, like at one point they get... Oh, we're not there yet. I'll talk about that later.
You've never read any Fear Street books before, have you?
No, the only thing I knew R.L. Stine from was the Goosebumps.
Right.
So it was kind of a shock to me. He was kind of macabre in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like Goosebumps, I don't know when exactly it came out, but I started reading these before Goosebumps. I even knew what Goosebumps was, I think. Yeah, I never really read Goosebumps. My little brother did. So, yeah. Hey, another person who will never hear this, but it's my brother's birthday today. Happy birthday, Eddie.
Happy birthday.
Okay, I lied. I did read some of his books, but they weren't
There is a
mine.
funny story about your brother.
What's that?
Is that his name is Eddie Breen?
I probably shouldn't say his whole name.
His name is Eddie?
Yeah.
But it's not Eddie.
It's not Eddie, even though he's been called that now for 16 years.
I only knew him as Eddie, and then I found out that's not in his name whatsoever.
Not whatsoever. No.
Not his first name, not his middle name.
No. It is technically our grandfather's middle name, but most people don't even know that. And yeah, we didn't think about it at the time. No, so we were doing our very first show at our community theater, and some older guy, his name was Buzzy. He was a good guy. He introduced himself to my brother, and my brother goes, "Hey, my name's Dan." And Buzzy goes, "Dan? Danny? Daniel? Eddie?" And so I heard that with a couple other people, and so we started calling him that as a joke. And then that's how he became known within everyone in the theater, and then everyone in town once he got a job at the pharmacy in town. And I mean, that's what he's got on his Facebook.
Yeah, now he full on goes by Eddie.
Yeah, except for his wife. She refuses to call him that now. But yeah. But yeah, happy birthday, Eddie. Thomas Daniel. Whatever you want to call him. So there were like a million of them. And then there were series within the series of Fear Street books.
To like with the same people?
Okay, well, that's the thing. They're very rarely ever the same people in each book. It's more about the town and the street. So, like, which has nothing to do with this book, except she's from Shady Side.
Oh,
which is
I
town.
remember seeing something about... There was, like, one of them lives on Fear Street.
Yeah. I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Which is apparently a very long street because, yeah, most people usually, at least one character in the book usually lives there. And apparently it's like this cursed street. And one of the series within the series had to do with, like, the Fear family and how the curse came to be and everything. And so... Yeah, and so there's usually either something like ghostly, paranormal, or murderous
All right.
in every book. Yeah, but usually it's not the same characters. They don't know each other. It's kind of weird. But yeah. And so I was looking up about it, and this, he started writing them because he had an editor friend who had a big fight with somebody about writing teenage horror. It was Christopher Pike, who wrote our wonderful, what was it called? Last Act? Yeah. The last horror murder book we read. Yeah, she was like, I'm not going to be working with him again. And she's like, I bet you could do it. go home and write this novel for teenagers. And she gave him like the title of the first book, Blind Date. And so he did it. And he's like, oh, this is fun. I'm going to keep killing all these kids in books. The most interesting part of this article I found, it was on mental floss. The characters aren't fleshed out on purpose. He said, I don't want to create a whole character. I want the reader to feel like the character. So I'm great at full-blown cardboard characters. And then he, leaves the settings nondescript on purpose as well, so he can relate to it.
All right.
Which I think is a great excuse for lazier writing.
Sure.
But it's like, okay, boy. I mean, he had the series end 2005, but then he restarted in 2014. Mm-hmm. And he says it's a lot harder now because he has to know all the technology teens are using. So. I loved the whole series when I was younger, I don't think I had all of them because there are a ton of them. But yeah, I don't think I saw the weirdness and how not well they're written until now as an adult. Well, I mean, I haven't reread them. I've only reread this one, so maybe it's just this book, but I highly doubt it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what'd you think of it?
There were major plot issues that I had with it, but I mean, overall, I guess it's okay for a teen book.
Yeah.
A little bit different.
It's different from like Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing last week. Yeah, it's a big switch. Would you have liked it when you were, I don't know, we'll say 12?
Maybe. I can't really tell the series off of this one book.
Yeah, but okay, just
probably
this one
wouldn't
book.
have related to these characters so much. So
because they're girls.
Yeah.
And like a whole different life.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, I'd give it like a 4 or 5.
Okay. Yeah. See, I think I would have given it like a 4 back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there wasn't really anything that I loved a lot about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I had it, and it's a summary one, so that's why I picked it for this week. But I need to try and find the other camp-related one. Maybe we'll read it in like August or something that I remember vividly. But it's probably just as bad. Because anyways, I give it like a 7 now. So,
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because there was some plot stuff and just like, what? Why is this happening?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's get into it because it's a bit of a longer book. The book begins with Claudia waking up on the beach. Because her friends have buried her in the sand, except for her head, of course. And she fell asleep. She doesn't know how long she's been there, but she feels like the tide's coming in. And she's definitely got a really horrible sunburn on her face. And she can't figure out how to get herself out of the sand. And so she decides to do a flashback to how she got there. Her friend Marla. Okay, when I think the name Marla, I only think Marla Hooch from A League of Their Own.
Okay.
Do you know who I'm talking about? I love her with all my heart.
I don't know specifically which character.
She was the not so pretty one. She had a big relationship with her dad. That was very sweet. They prettied her up. She was the one who sang in the bar.
No,
you haven't seen it forever.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
I watched it a billion times. We'll have to watch it because I love it. Anyways, so her friend Marla, that she went to camp with last summer, she writes a letter asking her and their 2 other friends from their cabin at Camp Full Moon. Lazy. To come stay at her house for a week. Her parents will be out of town. Isn't that convenient? And so, yeah.
No, it is not convenient. I mean, it is convenient for the writer.
Yeah.
But highly suspect.
Yes.
Yeah, let's let these 3 teenage girls go stay with
Right.
at this other girl's house on the week that her parents are out of town.
Yeah, you never hear her discussing it with her mom or...
No.
Wait. Yeah, maybe she does. Anyways, Claudia's real glad to get out of town because she just broke up with her boyfriend and lost her job. Which never comes up again. She's not upset about it too much. But these 3 girls are going to her, like, apparently super awesome house on the beach.
With only the butler from the Monsters that is there to supervise them. That's the picture I have in my head.
Is it?
Just this guy who never talks and walks around and just does stuff without ever talking to them.
His name's Alfred, so I think of Batman's.
Yeah.
Alfred. 2 weeks later, she is on the way to Summer Haven, another very good, well-named town. So she's on the train, which it makes me think this is all very East Coast if they're taking trains. But she sees her friends who haven't changed at all since last year. There's Joy and Sophie. Sophie's real tiny and like she's the one like they feel like they have to take care of. And Joy, did you pick up on this when she was explaining Joy? She was exotic looking, which again means she's Asian.
Yeah.
So they're all happy to see Claudia, and Marla pulls up in like her silver Mercedes, and then they go back to her mansion, which is like a fairy tale castle. So remember how Claudia was trapped on the beach? We're back to that now. Still buried in the sand, and she's starting to like freak out a little bit just now because the waves are coming in, and she's like, shit, I'm gonna drown. But guess what? A shadow falls over her.
Well, first she started screaming.
Oh, yeah, she did.
And then she's like, well, they're not going to hear me from the house. And then she, like, helped her panic a little more.
Right.
But the screaming did help.
It did help because a really hot guy finds her. And he's like, do you need some help? And it's like, no, bro, I'm fine. I'm good. But he helps her get out of the sand and back up to the house. His name is Daniel. But he's very elusive in everything else. Like, he knows the code to open the gate, but he doesn't explain how he knows. He just goes, I know lots of things. It's like, okay. So he just leaves or disappears. And Claudia gets back up to the mansion, and the girls are all shocked to see her. And Joy's like, after we buried you, we went for a walk, and when we came back, Marla said you'd gone back to the house. So we came in too.
We thought you were upstairs this whole time.
Yeah.
So, major plot issue number 1. She did not jump on Marla's ass and say, why the fuck did you think that I was upstairs? Right? What gave you that idea that you left me buried down there and I was going to freaking drown?
Assumed?
Yeah.
I mean, all 3 of you, what the fuck?
Yeah.
But yeah, especially Marla. And I mean, I could see...
Doesn't have to
If they go into it a little bit, I could see Claudia being like, we haven't seen each other in a year. Something really shitty happened last year, so I don't want to like jump all over her right now on our first day or something. But they didn't. They just had her go, meh, okay.
Yeah, like didn't ask for an explanation or anything. I mean, like, you almost died.
You almost died.
And you don't even get mad at the person or ask them why.
And you didn't die, but you've got this sunburn that fucking hurts.
Yeah.
All over her face. She could get skin cancer, Marla.
So maybe she was going to kill you the long way.
Yes. They should have gone back and just, like, seen if she were still there. I don't know. So,
or go upstairs and look and see if she's actually inside the house.
Yeah.
You left her buried.
But Claudia tells the girls that this Daniel guy helped her out, but they don't, like, believe her because he disappeared. I don't know. So, yeah, now at dinner that night, they're introduced to Alfred. Apparently there are more servants, but they gave them the week off, which is sketchy, but okay. So they all sit down to eat cheeseburgers and fries and a salad. And all of a sudden, Joy screams because she found a big fat worm in her salad. Calm down. And Alfred comes in and he begins apologizing for it. And he's like, well, the lettuce is locally grown. So that explains that.
I love how the stuff that happens to her that's bad is not really bad.
I know. Yes.
But she freaks out about it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. But she explains like, oh, well, you guys remember how I have like this horrible fear of bugs and all the crawly things. And it's like a really big deal to her or something. So I guess we get over that. And then Marla brings up Daniel. And Claudia tells her, like, oh, he'd gone for a swim and heard Claudia. And she, like, Marla flips out because she's like, she doesn't want anybody swimming on her private beach. Please, thank you, but not thank you, because she's very rude about it. And Marla's like, I've never seen him before. And Marla's like, you must know him because he knows the code to the gate. And Marla says, that's impossible. And she's like, you've spent too much time in the sun. And this is her one little good bit. Claudia goes, thanks to you. So Marla's like, oh, wait, I think I know who Daniel is. He's Ghost Boy. And the other's like, what? And Marla's like, it's true. I've seen this, like, guy down on the tennis courts. He was, like, really handsome, but wearing old-timey tennis clothes, and then he disappeared, and I've seen him like 3 times or something. And then when she thinks she's finally got the girls believing her, she's like, aha, you idiots, I made it up. She's like, what? So the girls just laugh it off, but they're kind of pissed about it. After dinner, they watch Bye Bye Birdie and laugh at like the funny way the 50s style teenagers were dressed and at the hilarious sexist attitudes. And Sophie's all like, those girls were so dumb. They only cared about pleasing boys. And it's like, you're not wrong, but you're also a hypocrite, Sophie. And I'll call you out on it later. So then they go to their rooms and to go to bed. And Claudia is looking out her window and staring at this guest house. She sees a light flicker on and someone's shadow go past the window. And she thinks it's Ghost Boy, even though Marla said that was a joke and there is no such thing. I don't understand why Claudia keeps thinking this is a ghost. But she does. Then she feels a hand on her shoulder. And did you like how there was like all these hangers at the end of chapters? Like she felt a cold hand, cold as death on her shoulder.
Yeah, like screams. The one time where it says that, and he fell to his death. And then the chapter ends.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. Thanks, RL. You're cool. Anyways, it's just Marla there, and Claudia tells her what, she saw in the guest house window, and she's like, no, it's probably just a reflection. We've got these spotlights for security, and I'm sure that's all it was. And Claudia doesn't really believe her, but she's like, whatever. She's like, whatever a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next day, Claudia and Marla go outside to play tennis while Joy and Sophie are sleeping in. Because it's something they used to do at camp. But Claudia wins every game and Marla loses her shit. It's like, my muscles are tired or something. I'm out of practice. I haven't had time to play this year.
Even though last year at camp,
she was awesome.
Yeah, they were. She could barely beat her, and they were so close.
She had told her how this next year I want to be taking private lessons or something to get even better. So Claudia thought it was weird that she was so much worse. Instead, she decides to say, maybe you're upset at seeing us again. You haven't seen us since the accident, since your sister died. And Marla doesn't want to talk about it, but Claudia just keeps going until she Marla really freaks out, yells at her, and storms off towards the house. It's okay, you put these 2 things in this one chapter and expect us not to figure it out already.
Yeah.
Dear listeners, can you figure out where this is going? So Claudia gets back up to the house, and Marla is okay again, and the other girls are up. Marla's like, Alfred, it's back to us a lunch to take down to the beach. And everybody's like, yay. So they gather the things, and they start walking down towards the beach, and they have to go through the gate. And Sophie's at the front of everybody, and Marla's like, you can open it, just turn the knob. So she goes to open it, and she falls backwards because she's been shocked by the electric gate. And Marla's like, what the hell? That's supposed to be turned off during the day automatically. Like, Sophie's like, I'm fine, mainly. And so they just go about their... I mean, she fell backwards onto the ground, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big shock.
Yeah.
But, okay, she's fine. So let's just go to the beach. But at the beach, Claudia... she brought an umbrella since she's still obviously very sunburned. So Sophie does sit with her underneath the umbrella. And Marla's still over there all being pissed. Joy thinks everything's fine though. But guess what? These two hot guys wearing wetsuits, carrying surfboards, walk out of the water towards them. And Claudia thinks one is Daniel, ghost boy, for a second, but it's not. He's tall, dark, and handsome though, and the other guy's blonde and handsome. And Marla's like super rude to these guys, which is kind of irritating at first. Well, they introduce themselves, and the dark one is Carl, and the blonde one is Dean. And then, okay, Dean like invites himself to their lunch and starts going through their fucking cooler. And now all of a sudden, I'm on Marla's side. It's like, what the fuck are you doing, you little pricks?
Yeah.
But Joy and Sophie are all about it because they're cute boys. So it's fine. But Marla's getting pissed off. She finally comes and joins them. It's like, can you leave a sandwich for me? And Dean tells her she can have one if she asks nicely. She's like, I'm going to ask you nicely one more time to fucking leave. She doesn't say fucking, but that's what she means. And Dean's like, hey, we're nice guys. Calm down. And then we'll go back to your house and party. And it's like, what kind of fucking presumptions are you making here, dick? Yeah, Marla tells him how she has an attack security dog that'll tear him up if he even thinks about it. And so Dean gets pissed. And he smacks her. End of the chapter.
Smacks her in the face.
He smacks her in the fucking face. And that's the end of that chapter. I was like, okay, that was a good cliffhanger. What the fuck? But, he claims he saw a bug on her.
Yeah.
My dude.
Like he said, there's a horsefly that was on your shoulder and horseflies bite. I'm like, you motherfucker, you just slapped her in the face.
Yeah, and I mean, oh my God. And the other girls don't have a problem with it either because cute boys.
No, and they end up hanging out with them later.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
I know. So they leave, finally. But the girls are like, why were you so bitchy, Marla? It's like, I'm sorry, I want to be on Marla's side on this one. You guys are idiots. But she said she promised her parents that she wouldn't have guys over and doesn't want any trouble. And it's like, that is perfectly fucking reasonable, ladies. So later that day, the three other girls are in Claudia's room just talking shit about Marla. Joy tells Claudia that actually yesterday Marla wouldn't let them go back for Claudia, where she was buried in the sand. And she says, Marla said she was sure you left the beach. She insisted we go up to the house with her. And Claudia's just like, oh, that's weird. So that evening, they're having dinner again and telling like, all these really lame stories. And then Marla's like, hey, we should go hang out on the boardwalk. And they're like, hell yeah, let's do that. Sophie's like, let's do bumper cars in the House of Mirrors. I love seeing myself skinny. So they hop in the Mercedes and drive down to the boardwalk, and they go in this, fun house, and they find the mirrors. Thank goodness for Sophie. And then they do some more rides, and they finally get to the bumper cars, and Sophie's like a demon driver. And it's okay. Then they get cotton candy, and I'm wanting some cotton candy or a cotton candy blizzard. And then they run into Carl and Dean. What a surprise. And Marla's immediately pissed off. And Claudia's like, yeah, I'm not here for this. And she just wanders off on her own. See, and who does she see? It's Ghost Boy. Even though still not a ghost. But she yells that out. And he's like, what do you call me? And Claudia's like, oh, you disappeared like a ghost the other day. That's it. So they end up going on the Ferris wheel together, and they talk a lot on the ride. But this guy's still being really vague and weird. And Claudia's like, where do you live? And he goes, I live everywhere. I float through the night sky. I haunt people. But Claudia's like, you know what, I don't care. He's fucking hot, and she wants to kiss him. But he never makes a move. And she's like, well, the boy has to make the move first, of course. Instead, he starts like going on about the ocean and the full moon, and he tells Claudia he's going to touch the moon. He stands up, they're still on the Ferris wheel, and pretends to grab for the moon. And Claudia sees him falling to his death. But guess what? It's not really him falling. She's thinking back to last summer and the tragic accident with Allison, Marla's dead sister. So finally, we learn that one night back at camp, the girls were in their bunks playing Truth or Dare, and Allison comes in, and she's like only a year younger than Marla. She's not nice, and nobody likes her, and so they're real annoyed that she's there. But she begs to play with them, and Marla's finally like, fine. Oh, this is the description for her, that Claudia had to admit that she was a world-class brat. She never hung out with kids in her own book. She acted desperate to be accepted by Marla's friends and become part of Marla's group. But they let her play Truth or Dare, and she chooses Dare, and Marla tells her, tonight you cross the Grizzly Gorge under the full moon, which is this log that's been laid across a gorge at like 20 feet down to water and rocks. So Allison's like, yeah, okay, no problem, I'll do it. The other girls tried to persuade her not to do it, but she's like, no, gotta show off. So the girls go down there to meet her. Marla gets caught by counselors, and so she doesn't get to go. But the others hid, so they meet Allison. And so she starts to go across the log, and she gets about 2/3 of the way, and she can't do it anymore. And she calls for help, but the girls are freaking out because some counselors are coming. They can see the flashlights. And so they tell her, come back, but she's making her way back, and the girls start running into the woods. Our 3 girls, not Allison. Because the counselors are getting closer, and they assume Allison's like right behind them. So they didn't see Allison fall. They didn't hear the hard crack as Allison dropped into the boulder-strewn river, the splash as she was tossed into the rushing water.
So that's weird because she was saying, I didn't really see him fall. I was seeing her fall again. Mm-hmm. But she never saw her fall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my big problem with this. What kind of irresponsible ass camp would have this totally tempting but really fucking dangerous setup? Just leaving there. It's like, of course teenagers are going to try and cross that. Come back to the present. Daniel asking her if she's okay. And she's like, oh, I'm on the Ferris wheel, not at camp. Then they get off the ride, and he disappears again as Claudia goes looking for the other girls.
Before they get off the ride, though, she does kiss him.
Oh, yeah, they do kiss, thank goodness. Mm-hmm. And then he disappears.
Yeah, and then he disappears.
So they go home, straight to bed, and Claudia is lying in her room when she hears a scream coming from Joy's room. They all run in there, and there's like 3 fucking leeches on Joy's arm. And like, she's freaking out. I mean, I'd be freaking out, too.
Yeah.
I'm not particularly weirded out by bugs and stuff, but
again,
leeches?
Compared to what the other girls have to go through.
Yeah, it's nothing. But still weird and gross.
She's had a worm in her salad and 3 leeches
locally
on her.
Grown. Were the leeches locally grown as well? Not so local as to be in her bed, though.
Maybe they were AIDS leeches, and she was again trying to kill them slowly.
Maybe
or
so.
whoever put the leeches on her.
Or whoever put the leeches in the bed. And Marla's like, I'm telling Alfred about this. And she goes and looks for him. And Joy tells Sophie and Claudia that, yeah, this crazy bitch invited us to her mansion to torture us because of Allison. And then Marla comes back a few minutes later and said, Alfred is just as baffled as we are. No shit, you dumb. So they go back to the rooms, but Claudia's like, I'm thirsty. So she goes down to the kitchen for some water, and she sees a figure half hidden by the pantry, and Claudia's like, it's Daniel, the ghost boy. It's not. There's nothing in the darkness. It's like, why does she keep jumping to this conclusion that it's a ghost?
Well, she says she sees somebody, but then they go back into the shadows.
Right.
So it literally could have been him. He could have been there, and she just never could see him. Maybe he was good at getting away quickly. But why wouldn't
he? Well, I know. He still don't want to be found out. Never mind. But a second later, Alfred does come in for some water himself. And she's like, is anybody living at the guest house or something? And he's like, no. And
I just cleaned that today.
And she tells him about the boy she thought she saw. And he's like, there's no way anybody could get in with the fence and the guard dog. And Claudia's like, all right. So Claudia tells Marla about seeing somebody the night before. And Marla tells Alfred to call the cops so they can search the grounds. And while all that serious business is going on, the girls are going to go water skiing. Sophie's the first one to go out on the skis. And she's doing a good job and having fun. And then they notice that, she's nowhere to be seen. She's fallen down. And Claudia spots her thrashing around in the water. And she's like, Marla, stop the boat. Slows down, and it completely stops. And Marla's like, the boat's stuck. It won't turn on. Okay, so they all just kind of watch Sophie drowning and starting to get carried away by a riptide. When Claudia finally decides to just jump in and go after her herself.
I've only been water skiing on the lake. Mm-hmm. That's not something you have to worry about on a lake.
Right. The riptide.
Again, just fuck the ocean. I don't. There's too many things to kill you.
I know.
Yeah, from little tiny creatures that can kill you to big giant creatures that can kill you to riptides to tide pools to.
We're also in East Texas. There are things, in the lake that can kill you too.
Well, now there are. Yeah, there's flesh-eating bacteria everywhere now.
I just meant copperheads.
And copperheads.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's always my biggest fear.
But see, those things you can usually see pretty easily on the lake because
their heads are sticking up.
Well, the ones that are poisonous, they tend to inflate their whole body. Uh-huh. They take
you can see all that.
A big lungful, so their whole bodies are typically on top. So if you see one that's just a head, most likely it's not poisonous.
Yeah, but you do see plenty of whole ones.
Yeah.
And so I've always been a real paranoid, even though I grew up on the lake.
Yeah.
They freak me out so bad. My dad shot one Easter. Mm-hmm. When I was out Easter egg hunting, there was one right up near the edge of the water where I was Easter egg hunting. And so, yeah, we had pictures. My mom took pictures of this bloody ass snake in the water. Happy Easter. It was great.
I'm surprised I haven't been bitten over the years.
Yeah, same.
As many as I've seen and almost ran over with the lawnmower and almost stepped on. And
So anyway, Claudia jumps in the water and she gets all pulled by the current in the other direction. She's like, oh, fuck, I'm going to drown too.
Yeah, she jumped in the water. She didn't even have her flotation device on.
No, she just jumped in because she took it off to rearrange it or something. Yeah. But she finally makes her way to Sophie. Marla is not there anymore. They can't see her, I guess. But guess what? Carl and Dean pull up and it's like, that's weird as fuck. How did you know? And it turns out Joy asked them to meet them or something. But it's that's creepy as hell. They just show up literally out of the sea. But they take them back to their dock, and there's Joy and Marla. And the boys actually leave. They don't press to party. And Marla is like, I'm so happy you're okay, Sophie. And she doesn't say anything about Claudia. But Claudia looks at the rope that's hanging off the boat for the water ski and realizes that, hey, somebody cut this rope. It didn't just...
It's a clean break.
Yeah, because it's all nice and clean. And Marla's like, psh, nobody could have done that. But then she says, like, maybe Carl and Dean did it. I kind of love her hate on them now. I mean, he fucking smacked her in the face. Still on her side about them. But they just decide to drop it for now and go back to the house. But Joy brings up her theory again that Marla invited them all there to torture them. And they're like, Claudia and Sophie are like, I don't know. And Joy's like, Claudia's like, why would Marla want to do that? And she's like, well, Marla must have known that Allison's death wasn't an accident. It was, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't push her, but we go back. We learn that Claudia's flashback before wasn't exactly right.
Yeah, basically the difference was they had the option to help her or run.
Right.
And they chose to run.
Yeah, it was mainly that Claudia didn't really
That's how
think
it wasn't an accident.
Allison was behind her. But they didn't push her or anything.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, and Claudia did hear Allison scream for help. That's what it was. And then her body hitting the rocks. Still didn't see her. But... so Claudia's like, oh shit, you're right. She's like, I'm going to call my mom to come get us right away. Her mom can't be there until the day after tomorrow.
And although they think they're in imminent danger,
yeah,
that's perfectly okay.
It's fine. We'll just be really on top of watching, make sure nothing happens the next day, and we'll be fine.
Because there's no other way that she could kill you guys.
No.
She couldn't poison you or shoot you with a gun or anything like that.
To be fair, not much has happened. Really, aside from Sophie almost drowning. I mean, it's mainly been bugs and sunburns. So,
yeah.
Then Marla does walk in and they're like, oh shit, did you hear too much? But she just offers some chocolate and it's weird. So the next day, the girls break up doing separate activities. Marla's writing letters. Sophie's taking a nap and Joy goes off to town with Carl. And so Claudia goes off for a walk on the beach.
Which is being very vigilant.
Oh, vigilant.
Nothing can happen there.
Yeah, nothing has happened there. You didn't just almost die in the sand or in the water. It's fine. So she's walking along. She sees someone running along the beach ahead of her. And she's like, that's Marla. So she calls out to her, but this girl just keeps running till she's out of sight. And she's like, well, that must have just been somebody that looks like her. This is where it gets fucked up. So Claudia all of a sudden sees this enormous white Irish wolfhound. So this is apparently that guard dog that we've heard of that Marla's fam has and we hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, so my dad used to keep German shepherds as guard dogs in his gas station.
Yeah.
The thing is, when you have a guard dog that's in a specific building or something, that's their territory.
Right.
So they get protective of their territory, and that's what they guard against. Apparently, they've trained this dog to attack anything on sight, no matter where it is.
Yeah. And, I mean, it seems like this is pretty far away from the house. Maybe still on their private beach, but it feels like she's gone quite a distance.
Yeah, she's been around for a while.
This dog shows up. And by the way, I fucking love Irish wolfhounds. Can we have one day, please?
No.
Damn. So, this wonderful, beautiful dog stares her down and then bares its teeth and starts growling. And Claudia's just starts backing away. And the dog starts running after her, and so she runs. But the dog's gaining on her, so she dives into the ocean to try and get away from this dog. So the dog jumps in too and bites her ankle.
Yeah.
Eventually lets go, but he's still coming after her, growling and being scary. So
she just starts swimming out further into the ocean
until guess what? She sees a shark. So she really starts panicking.
What a twist.
I know. But she's like, okay, wait. Sharks are attracted to violent movement and blood. I'm doing both. So I'm just going to try and calm down a little bit.
So during this little respite of her thinking about what to do, she again thinks back to camp and how her swim instructor told her that if you do the breaststroke, it's not supposed to move the water at all. It's supposed to be like totally calm. And
thank goodness for her random ass flashback.
Yeah. So I guess she starts swimming that way.
Yeah, but guess what? She gets caught up in the riptide.
Oh yeah, it becomes effortless to
get away. So she's like, okay, well, this isn't terrible, until she turns and sees the shark attacking the fucking dog. She sees like a geyser of blood. And like, I'm personally freaking out and like, oh my God, I don't care if it was an evil dog. And then Claudia, okay, this goes, okay. It goes, Claudia shut her eyes, but she opened them wide when something coarse bumped against her. Treading water, Claudia goggled at the disgusting object. She opened her mouth to scream, but no sound came out. What is it? She didn't want to look at it, but she couldn't pull her eyes away. She soon realized that it was a hair-covered chunk of meat, part of the dog. I know you said before, I don't know if on the podcast, but yeah, people dying in like movies and books and shit doesn't get to me at all.
No, but just one dog.
One horrible dog.
And she doesn't want to watch it anymore.
I mean, no. But okay, so I reasoned this in my head because I had forgotten about this. So yeah, when I was reading this, I was like, oh God, I can't believe I picked this. But I reasoned it out that this dog was leading a really sad, lonely life in his pen and not getting any love. So maybe this was better. That's what I got.
He had one last adventure.
He had a really exciting adventure and lost. I would have loved that dog. Anyway, so Claudia starts screaming, and she starts swimming towards the shore, and she doesn't know where she is, and eventually blacks out. So then she wakes up on the shore, and Marla is hovering over her, and I guess this is a scene on the book, on the cover. But like, the girl who is awake and shit looks shocked. She tells Claudia that she saw her, like, what's the word for it?
Wash up on the shore. And she ran as fast as she could. And Claudia stands up, and her ankle really hurts, but she's too upset to really tell Marla how it happened. And she's like, wait, Marla was that girl I saw running. She's like, so did Marla set the dog on me? Seems like it, because they go on their way back to the house. She sees this fenced area where the dog was kept, and the padlock on the gate is open. She's like, oh shit, somebody obviously really did let the dog out. Marla's like, I'm gonna go inside and find bandages and stuff for your ankle. And Claudia's like, fucking hell, and goes and finds Sophie and Joy. And she's like, we got to get out of here now. I know my mom can't come get us, but let's just like walk into town or do whatever we have to do and just fucking leave here. Joy wasn't back yet.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Joy wasn't back yet. So she tells Sophie this, and Sophie tells her, well, she's not back yet. And they're like, oh, fuck. they fix up Claudia's ankle, and then Marla goes to get dinner ready or whatever, and Joy's back, and she explains it, and they're like, okay, fuck, let's go. So they pack up, and oh no, it's pouring rain, but they run outside anyways. When they pass this shed, they notice, they're like, oh, that really stinks.
Well, first they go to the gate, right? And they can't get out of the gate.
No.
And so they're like, well, let's go around the back. Because we know there's a switch to the gate.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because the gate's like electrified.
Right. Yeah, right. So they go to the front of the house. They're like, oh, God, don't touch it.
And so they're like, well, I know there was a switch that Marla turned off at the other gates. Let's just go to
when Sophie got shocked. Yeah.
And then walk around. And then they walk by this shed.
And there's a horrible smell.
Yeah. So, of course, they're going to go look.
Yeah. What could this be? It's not like we're in danger right now. Let's take this little side trip. So they open the door and Marla's dead body tumbles out. What? It's very smelly and turning purple. So it's probably been dead for a while. And the girls are just like, huh, what now?
And it's Alfred's day off. So not
he's
only
not there.
Are the parents not home and there's no other staff, but they let Alfred have a day off with these 4 kids by themselves anyway.
No problem.
And there's a dead body.
They go back in and try the phone, but guess what? It's dead. So they're like, okay, well, we're just going to have to run for it. So they go out and, the gate's electrified. Someone steps out of the shadows. It might be Marla, but what? Marla's holding a gun. And she's like, the real Marla's been dead for a week. Shockingly, it's actually Allison back from the dead. She explains what happened after she fell. She said, no one in my family cared if I lived or died. So when a family pulled me out of the river, all broken and beat up and half drowned, they were so nice and caring. I decided to stay with them.
They didn't take her to a hospital.
I know.
They didn't call the police and say, hey, is this girl missing from anything?
I mean, how far away could she have gone? I mean, if some kid dies at camp in your area, you're going to hear about it on the news or something. I mean, anyway, she's like, I pretended to have amnesia so I wouldn't have to go back to my disgusting family. I decided this was my chance to start a new life, to be with a happy family. So I pretended I didn't know who I was, and I stayed with them. These irresponsible idiots.
For a year until now when I decided to come home. I don't know how I got here by myself, but I'm here and I decided to kill my sister and the people she invited to come stay at the house.
Right, because it was all their fault. They let her die. I mean, they certainly did care. They certainly did act like they didn't care very much. But how did they not know it was her? I mean, when we first meet her, I mean, yeah, they look similar, but they don't look like twins or anything.
Okay, so I will tell you this story.
Tell me this story.
So when I joined a fraternity at Tyler Junior College, there was a guy who I got to know, and he had graduated from TJC the year before. Mm-hmm. But he came to all the parties.
Oh, he was one of those guys. All right, all right.
So I start talking to him one day, and I'm, just talking about different things that we had done or whatever. And the guy says, that's not me. And I'm like, what? He said, you're thinking about my brother. And I'm like, oh, you guys are twins? And he's like, no, I'm like 6 years older than him.
Oh, shit.
But they looked like they were identical twins. Mm-hmm. But they were 6 years apart.
To be fair, when we were younger, I don't mean like very young. I was like 25. People thought my brother and I were twins. And we are 6 years apart as well. I looked very young for a very long time.
So I could see with the year's difference and having the year to grow or whatever, I don't know.
I guess. Okay.
It's plausible. And if you hadn't seen the person in a year, what's in your head, memories may be different than whatever.
Okay. Yeah. I'll go with it.
Yeah.
It's still bullshitty though. Anyway, so she asks the girls which one of them wants to die first. So she points a gun at Claudia because nobody's like, me. But right when she's about to pull the trigger, guess what? Ghost Boy shows up. Or Daniel. He's real. He dives at Allison, and guess what? The lights go out. Allison starts running towards the gate, apparently. But Joy's like, it's electrified. And Allison's like, the power's off, you idiot. And just as Allison reaches to the gate, the generator hums to life, and Allison is electrocuted. Yeah, Daniel's like, is she dead? And they're like, yep, she is. So he tells the girls that he's Alfred's son, and he's been secretly staying in the guest house because he's on a break from college and wants to visit his dad. And although Alfred has the day off and is not there, his son is. Yes. He's left his son there alone. And please remember, they're having this conversation over a dead body. Yeah. Anyways, they kept it a secret because they didn't think Marla/Allison's family would be real nice about it. And so they're like, just stay here. We'll keep it a secret. And then the book abruptly ends with Daniel and Claudia kissing and walking towards the house. And that's it. Don't worry about these two dead girls on the property. Let's just go make out. Okay. We'll wait for Alfred to get back and deal with it, right? I mean, it's fine. This book. Yeah, isn't it convenient? Like the two dead bodies, you can say, well, that dead body killed this dead body and then electrocuted herself. Yeah. The police are going to be like, I don't know about that. But they're all so cute and good looking that they'll be fine. So I don't understand what Allison's full plan was. I mean, most of the murder attempts were like just really weak. And not even a murder attempt with Joy. Just grossing her out. Because the leeches aren't going to kill her. Yeah. I guess she planned a series of coincidental accidents. And if that didn't work by the end of the week, or when they figured it out and were trying to leave, then she was going to shoot them. Okay, great plan, Allison. What was the point of Dean and Carl? To be there and be cute boys and to be just like a little something else to the story? It's something like, because you never really knew absolutely 100% for sure that it was Marla/Allison. Right. It was to put a little doubt and being an asshole who slaps a girl in the face, you kind of see, like, what are these hillbilly people? I mean, I guess it's... Oh, okay. Well, maybe it's because they mentioned, when they were first talking about Elson, how nobody liked her and she was really mean and stuff. And so, I think we're supposed to think that all of Marla's mean and bitchy behavior towards Dean and Carl was out of character for the real Marla. And so this obviously must be someone else. But like I said, aside from the very beginning where she's pissed they're on her beach, I'm with her. He fucking smacked her. Please remember this. Of course she's going to hate him. So anyways, I guess that was the point of them. I don't know. This fucking point. I'm excited to read more Fear Street books to see if they're really as plot holy and as bad as this. Yeah, and there are ones I definitely remember. Gross. There are ones I definitely remember more than this one. And hopefully there are no more dead dogs. Maybe I should research that for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that's it for this week. You have anything more for this book?
No. I'm not looking forward to the next one.
Is it so bad?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't great. But, I mean...
That is the point of this podcast.
I was going to say, are many of them?
Okay, so I'm excited. I'm sorry you're not. But, yeah. But thanks for listening, everybody. We really appreciate it. But hey, if you could, please go over and rate us on iTunes. It would really help us out and get more people to listen to us. And it'll just take you a minute. And subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, iHeartRadio, and all the very good places. I'm going to try harder to put links out for those for you guys to share on the social medias. Because if you do enjoy us, please tell your friends and share. And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Fighting Over the Card Catalog. And at Twitter, on Twitter at Card Catalog Pod, or my personal Twitter at Just Digress.
And just share some really good things on there. So
I do.
Be sure to look at during the week.
Thanks. So next week, we're going to get back to your favorite girl in the Babysitters Club. Number 6, Christy's Big Day.
Oh. Joy.
But like I said, I'm curious to see if you'll like her in her own narrated book. Because you've only done that once. She's a hero. No, just that like you might see her side of things better and not just the bossy side. But I mean, it's there. So we'll see. I'm excited. So yeah, join us back here next week for Christy's Big Day. We're rereading the books of your childhood.
So you don't have to.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.